Hello everyone. Now that we have explored various frameworks, it's time to meet the international gold standard for AI, ISO IEC 42001. In the formal world, this is defined as an international standard that specifies requirements and provides guidance for establishing, implementing, maintaining, and continually improving an artificial intelligence management system, or AIMS. But let's break that down into simple words. ISO 42001 is basically the management blueprint for AI. If you have ever seen an ISO 9001 sticker for quality or ISO 27001 for security, this is the version specifically designed for the unique headaches of AI. It's like a recipe book for the whole company to follow so that your AI isn't just a Wild West project happening in a basement, but a professional, repeatable process. It moves us from hoping things go well to knowing they are being managed. So now that we've mastered the idea that this is an overarching management system, you might be wondering what actually sits at the very heart of this system. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is the plan, do, check, act cycle. Stay with me here because ISO 42001 is built on a famous engine called a PDCA cycle. Formally, this is a 4-stage iterative management method used for the control and continuous improvement of processes and products. In our everyday office life, I like to call this the look before you leap, then check your work method. First, you plan what you want the AI to do. Then you build and launch it. Next, you check. You look at the data to see if it's actually working or if it's acting biased. Finally, you act. You fix the problems you found and start the loop all over again. You've probably seen this at the office when a project fails because people skipped the check phase and just kept doing until it was too late. ISO 42001 makes this cycle mandatory so you never stop getting better. So now that we understand the engine that drives the system, you might be wondering who is responsible for keeping that engine oiled and running well. That brings us right into our next step, which is leadership and commitment. In the ISO world, leadership and commitment is formally defined as the requirement for top management to demonstrate accountability for the effectiveness of the management system and to ensure that the AI policy and objectives are established. To put that in simple terms, if the boss doesn't care, nobody else will. I've seen so many AI safety programs fall apart because the CEO only talked about profits and never mentioned ethics. ISO 42001 says the top management can't just delegate this to a junior engineer. They have to sign off on the policies and provide the actual cash and people to make it happen. It's about making sure the tone at the top is one of safety and responsibility. Let's break this down together. Without a leader saying this matters, the best management system in the world is just a dusty binder on a shelf. Now that we've got the bosses on board, we need to figure out what specific rules they are actually signing off on. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is establishing the AI policy. An AI policy, according to the standard, is a formal statement of an organization's intentions and direction regarding AI, providing a framework for setting objectives. In simple words, this is your AI constitution. It's the high-level document that says things like, we will never use AI to discriminate, or we will always be transparent with our customers. I once helped a company that didn't have a policy, and every time a new AI tool came out, they had a 3-week argument about whether they should use it. Once we wrote a clear policy, those arguments disappeared because they finally had a North Star to guide their decisions. It's the ultimate vibe check for every project. So, now that we've got our constitution in place, we need to look at the actual scouts who go out to find trouble. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is AI risk assessment within the AIMS. The ISO 42001 standard requires a systematic AI risk assessment, which is formally defined as the process of identifying, analyzing, and evaluating risks specifically associated with the development and use of AI systems. Let's break this down. This is where we get specific. We aren't just looking at general business risks. We are looking at AI flavored risks. What if the model drifts and gets less accurate over time? What if the training data were stolen? What if the AI hallucinates and gives a customer bad legal advice? You've probably seen this at the office where people are so excited about the magic of AI that they forget it's just software that can fail. ISO 42001 forces us to document these risks and decide exactly how we are going to handle them before they blow up. Now that we have identified all these potential headaches, we need a way to prove to the outside world that we are actually managing them well, which brings us right into our final step for this chapter, which is documentation and certification. To wrap up our intro to ISO 42001, we have to talk about documentation and the path to certification. Formally, this is the maintenance of documented information to provide evidence of the management system's performance and compliance with the standards requirements. In simple words, if it isn't written down, it didn't happen. This is the part where you keep the receipts. When a regulator or a big client asks, "How do I know your AI is safe?" you don't just say, "Trust me, I'm a nice person." You show them your ISO 42001 certification. It's like a good housekeeping seal for your AI processes. It shows that an outside auditor has looked at your PDCA cycle, your leadership, and your risk assessments and said, "Yep, they're doing it right." So now that we've mastered the structure of the world's first international AI management standard, you might be wondering how this high-level system actually talks to the specific technical steps we learned in NIST.